The beeping of the heart monitor was the only sound in the room, a relentless metronome counting down to 0. My mother's eyes fluttered open one last time, locking onto mine with a clarity that pierced through the morphine haze. "Christopher," she whispered, her voice a ragged thread. "Your father. He loved a man. And you. You're his light. But not mine. Not in blood." I froze, the words slamming into me like a freight train in the dead of night, shattering the fragile dam I'd built around our family's perfect lie. The sterile hospital air in that Chicago suburb turned thick, suffocating, as if the walls themselves were closing in on the boy I'd always been, the golden son of straight-laced parents, now unraveling at the seams. That confession hung there, unfinished, as her chest rose and fell one final time. She was gone. And in that void, the truth she'd unleashed clawed its way into my soul, demanding I chase it down before it buried me alive. I sat there for what felt like hours, the fluorescent lights buzzing overhead like angry hornets in my skull. My name is Christopher Hale, 32 years old, a high school history teacher in a sleepy corner of the Midwest. The kind of guy who coaches JV basketball on weekends and fixes leaky faucets for neighbors because that's what good men do. Or so I'd thought. My life had been scripted in broad strokes. Dad, the stoic auto mechanic with calloused hands and a laugh that boomed like thunder. Mom, the elementary school librarian with her cardigans and cookie recipes. And me, their only child, the bridge between their worlds. We'd lived in a split-level ranch house on Elm Street in Evanston. The American dream wrapped in vinyl siding and PTA meetings. Dad died 5 years ago from a heart attack, irony not lost on me now, pushing a Chevy off the lift at the garage. No drama. That's how we Hales handled things. Or so I'd believed. But Mom's deathbed whisper? That was the detonator. Not mine. Not in blood. What the hell did that mean? As the nurses shuffled in with their sympathetic murmurs and paperwork, I felt the first crack in my foundation, a seismic shift that made the room tilt. I signed the forms on autopilot, my signature a shaky scrawl that betrayed the storm raging inside. By the time I stepped into the November chill outside Advocate Lutheran General, the wind off Lake Michigan whipping my coattails, I knew I couldn't go home to my empty apartment. Not yet. The truth was a live wire, and I had to follow it or fry. Driving aimlessly through the sodium-lit streets, I ended up at Dad's old garage on the edge of town. It was after hours, the bays dark and echoing, but the owner, some kid who'd bought it from the estate, knew me well enough to let me in without questions. The smell hit me first, oil and rubber, the metallic tang of tools left out overnight. I wandered to Dad's workbench, untouched like a shrine, his coffee mug still perched on the edge, stained with years of black brew. I sank onto the stool, fingers tracing the gouges in the wood from countless jobs, and let the memories flood in. Dad had always been larger than life. 6'3", broad as a linebacker from his high school football days, with a mustache that curled at the ends like a 70s cop show reject. He'd ruffle my hair before school, call me champ, and teach me to change spark plugs with the patience of a saint. But there were gaps, silences that stretched like shadows. The way he'd linger too long over the newspaper's sports section, eyes glazing over. The fishing trips he took alone to Wisconsin, coming back with tall tales but no fish. She'd orbit him like a planet around the sun, her smiles a little too bright, her hugs a touch too tight. They'd met in college at Northwestern. The all-American story, sorority girl and frat boy. Wedding in the chapel. Me 9 months later. But now, that whisper echoed, he loved a man. I pulled out my phone, hands trembling as I typed into the search bar, Evanston Gay Bars 1980s. The results popped up like ghosts, names like The Hideout, Steamworks. Places Dad could have slipped into after a long shift, shedding his cover like a snake's skin. My stomach churned. Was this why he died so young? The weight of the lie crushing his heart? Or was it something worse, guilt? Betrayal? I slammed the phone down, the clang echoing off the concrete. I needed proof. Mom's words weren't enough, they were a spark. But I needed the fire. The next morning, I rifled through the attic boxes at the old house. Mom had left it to me in her will. A 2-story colonial now looming like a tomb. Dust motes danced in the slanted light as I tore open cardboard flaps labeled photos and miscellaneous. Faded Polaroids spilled out, Dad hoisting me on his shoulders at Wrigley Field, Mom beaming in her Easter bonnet. But deeper in, tucked under a stack of tax returns, was a shoebox. Plain brown. No label. My pulse hammered as I pried it open. Letters. Dozens of them. Handwritten in looping script that wasn't Dad's blocky print. The top one was postmarked 1987. Addressed to Jack, in care of a P.O. Box in Boys Town. The name hit like a sucker punch. I unfolded it, the paper brittle as old bone. My dearest Jack, the nights without you are endless stretches of gray. Ellen suspects nothing, but God. The guilt is a blade twisting in my gut. Christopher's first steps today, he's got your eyes. That spark of mischief. I can't stop seeing you in him. When can we steal away again? The lake house next weekend? I need your hands on me. Your laugh in the dark. You're the only truth I've got left in this charade. Forever yours. Dad's name. Tom Hale. My godfather? Uncle Jack. The family friend who'd show up for barbecues with a bottle of scotch and stories from his travels as a photographer. The man with the easy grin and salt and pepper hair, who always slipped me extra cash for comics and called me kiddo with a wink. He was the one. Dad's lover. And that line, he's got your eyes, it sliced through me. Mom's whisper, not mine. Not in blood. Christopher wasn't Dad's son? Or was I Jack's? The box yielded more. Ticket stubs from underground shows in 80s Chicago. A pressed wildflower from Door County. A single earring, gold hoop. Masculine edge, that I'd seen Jack wear once. My vision blurred. Hot tears splashing onto the letters. Betrayal didn't cover it. This was a lifetime of erasure. A love story buried under picket fences and potlucks. I was the product of that deception. A living lie stitched together from 2 men's longing and 1 woman's sacrifice. I didn't hear the doorbell at first. The chimes echoed up from the foyer. Insistent. Wiping my face, I shoved the box under the bed and stumbled downstairs. Through the peephole, a man in his late 50s, lean and weathered, with silver hair cropped short and a leather jacket slung over a button-up. He looked familiar, too familiar. I yanked the door open. Christopher? His voice was gravel and smoke, laced with that old Chicago twang. Jesus, you've grown into quite the man. Jack, I cut him off. the name tasting like ash. I know who you are. His face crumpled. Eyes, hazel. Just like mine, widening in shock. How? I stepped aside, gesturing him in. The air between us crackled. 20 years of unspoken history igniting in the hallway. He moved like a ghost through the house, fingers trailing the banister as if mapping old wounds. We ended up in the kitchen, the same Formica table where Dad had carved Thanksgiving turkeys. I poured coffee with shaking hands. He declined, settling for water. She told you, he said finally. Not a question. Ellen. At the end. I nodded. Throat tight. Dad was gay. You were. Everything to him. And me? Am I even his? Jack's laugh was bitter. Hello. Oh. Kiddo. You're Tom's in every way that matters. Blood? That's just ink on a page. Ellen couldn't have kids, pose. Back in the day they didn't talk about it. You were. An arrangement. Of your donor sperm. Tom insisted it be mine. He wanted you to carry a piece of us. Something real in all the pretending. The room spun. IVF? In the 80s? It sounded like science fiction. But there it was, my origin story. Engineered in secrecy. I gripped the table edge. Knuckles white. Why hide it? Why let him marry her? Let her love him like that? Because the world wasn't kind to men like us, Jack said. Voice cracking. Reagan's America? AIDS ripping through our friends like wildfire. Tom had the garage. The house. The facade. Ellen loved him, platonically. Fiercely. She was our shield. And you? You were our miracle. I wanted to scream. To hurl the mug across the room. Instead, I felt a pull. A magnetic grief drawing me toward him. This man, who'd shaped me from afar, who'd loved my father in the shadows. Where were you when he died? When she faded away? Here, he whispered. Always here. But Tom made me promise, no contact after he was gone. Protect you from the mess. Ellen kept tabs? Slipped me updates. I watched your graduation photos online. Your first teaching job. Proud as hell? Kid. The dam broke then. I buried my face in my hands. Sobs racking my frame. Jack rose. Peasant. Then pulled me into an embrace, strong. Unyielding. Smelling of sandalwood and old film developer. For the first time, I felt seen, not as the orphan of a fractured home, but as the son of a forbidden love. We talked until dusk bled into the windows. The letters spread out like a map of lost years. Jack showed me photos on his phone, Dad and him at Pride in '85. Arms linked defiantly, a candid of me as a toddler. Asleep on Tom's chest at the lake house. Jack's hand resting on both of us. Laughter mingled with tears. The kitchen filling with ghosts made flesh. But as night fell, another truth surfaced, sharp as shattered glass. There's more, Jack said, eyes downcast. Tom. He cheated. Not on me, but on the lie. A guy from the bar. Younger. During one of our rough patches. Ellen found out. That's why she pulled away those last years. Resentment? Not just the illness. Betrayal layered on betrayal. My rock had cracked under the pressure. I stormed out into the yard, the cold biting my skin, pacing the lawn under the sodium glow of the street lamp. Jack followed, his silhouette a quiet anchor. "It doesn't erase the love," he said softly. "It humanizes it. We're all just fumbling in the dark." I turned to him, chest heaving. In that moment, the air shifted, grief twisting into something rawer, more electric. His hand brushed my arm, a spark that ignited questions I'd buried deep, the crushes on teammates in the locker room, the way I'd linger over certain novels in college. Was it in the blood or the heart? I stepped closer, our breaths mingling in the frost. "Show me," I murmured. "Show me what it was like." His kiss was tentative at first, a question wrapped in warmth, then deepening with the hunger of decades denied. My hands found his waist, pulling him against me, the world narrowing to the press of bodies, the taste of salt and regret. It wasn't romance. Not yet, just release. A bridge across the chasm Dad had left. We broke apart gasping, the night air a slap of reality against flushed skin. Jack's eyes searched mine, wide with a mix of wonder and wariness. "Christopher." I said, voice rough. "Not yet. I need time." I backed away, heart pounding like a war drum, fleeing to the guest room upstairs. The door clicked shut, a flimsy barrier against the chaos. I stripped down to boxers, collapsing onto the bed that still smelled of Mom's lavender sachets. Sleep came in fits, dreams tangled with images, Dad's mustache brushing Jack's cheek in a moonlit cabin, Mom's knowing smile as she signed the IVF papers, my own reflection, hazel eyes staring back, demanding answers. Morning brought no clarity, just a pounding headache and the clatter of Jack making breakfast downstairs. I showered hot and long, scrubbing at skin that felt foreign, alive in ways I'd ignored. By the time I joined him, the kitchen was a battlefield of eggshells and coffee grounds, domesticity mocking the upheaval. He slid a plate my way, scrambled eggs, just like Dad used to make. He said, no pressure in his tone. "We don't have to talk about last night." But we did. Over the meal, halting at first, then pouring out like rain after drought. Jack laid it bare, their first meeting in '79 at a dive bar off Halstead. Tom fresh from a straight marriage proposal he couldn't stomach. Ellen had been his beard from day one. A pact sealed over diner coffee, "I'll give you the family. You give me the cover." IVF in those pre-internet days was a black market whisper. Clinics in Milwaukee willing to look the other way for the right cash. Jack's sperm, Tom's insistence, our boy. Proof we're real. I probed the wounds. Each question a scalpel. "Did you resent her?" "This. Every damn day," he admitted, fork pausing midair. "But love's not a ledger." Ellen was family too, brave as hell, holding that secret while cancer ate her from the inside. She called me last month, said it was time. Tell him. Set him free. Free. The word echoed as I drove Jack to his hotel in the Loop that afternoon. The cityscape blurring past, skyscrapers like jagged teeth against a slate sky. We parted with a handshake, too formal, but his number burned in my phone. Back home, I dove into the archives, scanning old diaries Mom had squirreled away. Entries from '92, Tom's late again. Smells like smoke and lies. But Christopher's drawing, those eyes. So like Jack's. God help me. I love them both. Resentment simmered there, but laced with a fierce protectiveness. She'd chosen this life. Or it had chosen her. A queer ally in a buttoned-up era. The betrayal gnawed deeper that week. Dad's indiscretion, a one-night slip with a bartender named Riley, confessed in a tear-stained letter Jack had kept. "Forgive me," Tom had written. "The loneliness is a monster." I tracked Riley down via Facebook, a grizzled vet now slinging drinks in Milwaukee. Our call was brief. Awkward, yeah. I remember Tom. Good guy. Trap bird. Didn't mean to rattle the cage. No affair. Just a drunken fumble. But it humanized Dad's cracks, the pressure of the double life fracturing his resolve. Teaching became a lifeline. Seventh graders oblivious to my turmoil as I lectured on the Stonewall riots. Voice cracking on invisibility. After school, I'd run the lakefront path, pounding pavement until my lungs burned, chasing the high of that kiss. Jack and I texted, innocent at first, recipes and weather, then deeper, photos of Tom's old camera, stories of their road trips to Fire Island before it all got too risky. 2 weeks in, he invited me to his studio in Wicker Park. A loft crammed with prints and negatives, the air thick with developer chemicals. "Thought you might want to see these," he said. Unrolling a canvas of photos, Dad mid-laugh on a Harley. Wind-whipped and free, the two of them entwined on a beach at dawn. Bodies blurred but souls sharp. I traced the lines, fingers lingering on the intimacy. "You're an artist," I said. "But this. Now I teach workshops. Keeps the ghosts at bay." Bold, and we sat on the worn leather couch, the city humming below. Conversation flowed to the unspoken, my dating history, a string of women that fizzled like wet matches, his post-Tom years, lovers who came and went but never stayed. "I've always known," I confessed, glass trembling. The way I'd watch guys in the gym, pretend it was nothing. Dad's shadow, maybe. Or fear. Jack set his wine down, shifting closer. "It's not shadow, Christopher. It's light." Tom hid because he had to. "You don't." His hand cupped my jaw, thumb brushing stubble. And this time the kiss was deliberate, exploratory, tongues tentative, then bold, bodies aligning with a gravity I'd denied. We moved to the bedroom, a sunlit space with sheets like ocean waves. Clothes shed in whispers, skin meeting skin with reverent hunger. His touch was patient, guiding, fingers mapping scars, lips coaxing gasps. For the first time, I felt whole, not fractured, the sun claiming his inheritance. Afterward, tangled in sweat-damp sheets, he traced the tattoo on my forearm, the Hale family crest, inked in college rebellion. "He'd be proud," Jack murmured. But pride cracked under scrutiny. That night, alone, doubt crept in. Was this love? Or grief's cruel mimic? Jack was Dad's echo, a bridge to the past. But what of my future? The next day, a letter arrived from Mom's lawyer, the house, but also a trust fund, earmarked for truth-seeking. Inside, a note in her script, "Forgive us, my boy." Live loud. Inspired, I reached out to Riley again, this time for coffee in a neutral Milwaukee diner. He was weathered, tattoos fading like old regrets, but his eyes lit with memory. Tom talked about you nonstop. My champ, he'd say. That slip? Was the bottle talking, not the heart. He came clean to Ellen. They rebuilt stronger. Stronger. The word fueled me. Back in Chicago, I confronted the final ghost, Dad's grave in Calvary Cemetery. A plain stone-etched Thomas Hale. Beloved husband and father. I knelt in the November frost. Weeds clawing at my jeans. You lied, I whispered. But you loved. And that's enough. Jack met me there later. Unbidden. A thermos of coffee in hand. We sat shoulder to shoulder. The wind whispering through oaks. What now? He asked. Now, we build. No grand declarations. Just a hand in mine, solid. Winter clamped down on Chicago like a vice. Lake Michigan freezing into jagged plates that mirrored the fractures in my heart. Jack and I fell into a rhythm, dinners at corner bistros. Nights in his loft where photography gave way to tangled limbs and murmured confessions. It was tender. This budding romance. Laced with the bittersweet tang of inheritance. He'd show me Tom's old journals. Pages filled with sketches of lovers' hands intertwined. I'd read aloud. Voice steadying as the words bridged us. But beneath the romance simmered conflict. A slow boil threatening to erupt. It started small, a forgotten anniversary, Tom and Jack's first real date. December 12th. Jack withdrew into silence, staring at the calendar like it was an indictment. He'd have baked that damn apple pie, he muttered one night, pushing away a half-eaten meal. I tried, whipping up a store-bought crust, but it crumbled under the knife, much like us. You're not him, Jack snapped, regret flashing immediate. And I don't want you to be. But Christ, the ghosts, I understood, intellectually. Therapy sessions with a queer counselor in Lincoln Park helped unpack it. Intergenerational trauma, the echo of closeted love rippling through bloodlines. You're not replacing Tom, she said. Her office a sanctuary of plants and pride's flags. You're honoring him by living openly. But emotionally? To stung. A reminder that I was the sequel, not the original. Then came the bomb from out of nowhere, my half-sister. Ellen's niece. A woman named Sarah from Mom's side in Ohio. Who'd inherited a box of letters too, Mom's side of the story. She showed up unannounced on my doorstep in early January, bundled in a parka, eyes puffy from a red-eye flight. Aunt Ellen wrote me everything, she said, thrusting a manila envelope. Said if anything happened to her, tell you the full truth. About the betrayal. We sat at the kitchen table, steam rising from mugs like unspoken accusations. Sarah was mid-40s, sharp-featured with Mom's auburn hair. A social worker who'd clawed her way through foster care after her own parents' divorce. The letters were raw, Mom's journals from '95, detailing the night she found Dad's phone, text to Riley. Explicit. Desperate. I confronted him, and he broke, sobbed like a child. It's the lie. Ellen. It eats me. Jack knew. Forgave. But I carried it like a stone, smiling for Christopher's sake. Worse, Mom had confronted Jack too, in a tearful showdown at the lake house. He begged me to stay silent, said you'd shatter. But I see it in your eyes now. Christopher, the same hunger. Don't let it destroy you like it did us. Sarah's voice trembled as she read. She loved you fiercely, but resented the charade. Thought about leaving a dozen times. Stayed for you. The words landed like shrapnel. I'd idolized Mom as the saint. The glue, now she was human. Wounded. Her sacrifice a grudging one. I lashed out at Jack that night. Phone call turning venomous. You all lied. Mom suffered because of your arrangement. Did you ever think of her heart? His silence stretched, then cracked. Every day. We compensated, trips, fifth, therapy she never used. But love like ours, it warps everything. I'm sorry, Christopher. For all of it. I hung up, rage coiling tight. The next weeks were a blizzard of isolation, canceled dates, ignored texts, runs that stretched into marathons until my knees buckled. The school. I snapped at a student over a late paper, the principal pulling me aside with concerned brows. Everything okay at home? Chris. The word mocked me. Rock bottom hit on Valentine's. Alone in the old house with a bottle of bourbon and Dad's letters. I read them feverishly, tracing the passion. Jack's touch undoes me, makes me forget the mask. But interleaved were Mom's notes, slipped in by Sarah. I forgive, but I ache. The duality tore at me. How could love be so beautiful and brutal? Jack's knock came at midnight, snow dusting his shoulders like powdered sugar. He didn't speak, just held out a photo, the three of us, me as a baby, cradled between Tom and Ellen at the hospital, Jack in the background, camera in hand. This was real too, he said. The family we made, flawed as hell. I pulled him inside, the door slamming on the cold. We argued in the foyer, voices rising, accusations flying, until exhaustion bent us toward truth. I love you, I gasped. First to say it. Not as Dad's echo. As me. He cupped my face, tears carving paths. And I love you, the man you've become. Let's build something new. No ghosts allowed. Forgiveness didn't come easy. We attended couples counseling. The therapist a no-nonsense dyke with a laugh like gravel. Sessions unearthed layers. Jack's guilt over Mom. My fear of inheriting the closet. We burned the Riley letters in the backyard fire pit. Ashes swirling like released sins. Spring thawed the lake. And with it, us. Picnics in Grant Park, where Jack taught me to frame shots, capturing lovers' glances and my own tentative smiles. But conflict lingered, a shadow in paradise. Sarah became an unlikely ally, visiting for weekends, her pragmatism a bomb. Mom, Ellen, chose love over truth, she'd say over wine. You choose both. Her words fueled a decision, coming out. Not with fanfare, but ripples. First to my best friend. Over beers at a Cubs game. Dude, he said, clapping my shoulder. About time. That coach from last year? Total vibe. Then the team, my JV boys. Post-practice huddle. Life's about authenticity. Guys. Like Jordan owning his shot. A few awkward nods. But one kid lingered. Coach? Does this mean you're happy? Yeah. It did. Jack and I planned a trip to Door County, the Lake House Tom's sanctuary. We arrived in May. Wildflowers rioting along the drive. The cabin was time-worn, creaky porch, stone fireplace, but ours now. Deeded to me in Mom's will with a note, make new memories. We did, cooking lake trout over open flame. Bodies slick under summer stars. Whispers of future, maybe adoption. A family unscripted. Yet the high tide of romance crested into storm. Jack's ex, a younger photographer, Dirk, surfaced via email. Innocent check-in laced with barbs. Heard you're with Tom's kid. Kinky. Jealousy flared. I accused Jack of unfinished business. He's baiting you, Jack Rohrbeck. Because he knows what we have scares him shitless. The fight spilled into the lake. Me wading in fully clothed. Water lapping at betrayals. Jack followed, pulling me under in a crash of waves. We surfaced sputtering, laughing through tears. No more running, he gasped. Promise. Summer burned hot and unyielding, mirroring the forge of our bond. Jack and I dove deeper, workshops where I'd assist, framing his visions through my lens, lazy Sundays in Boys Town, hand in hand at pride markets, the rainbow flags a banner of claimed space. Romance bloomed in stolen moments, his fingers interlacing mine during a showing of Brokeback Mountain at the Music Box. Our shared hush a vow. But the dramatic undercurrent, that Klieg-light intensity of our origins, demanded a climax, a reckoning that would test if love could outrun its ghosts. It detonated in August, sweltering humidity turning the air to soup. I'd been digging through estate files, tying up loose ends on the house sale, Mom's will a labyrinth of codicils. Tucked in a safe deposit box at Chase, a cassette tape, labeled for Christopher. When ready. Dad's handwriting, shaky from his last chemo session. Heart meds. I played it in the car, engine idling in the bank lot, his voice crackling through static like a dispatch from the grave. Sean, if you're hearing this, I'm gone. And Ellen. She's known the score longer than me. About you. I was scared, son, scared of losing the world I built. But losing you? That's the real hell. You're mine. Blood or not. Fit. Whatever, love fierce. And tell Jeff. Tell him I waited too long to say it out loud. I love it. End of tape. The bank's AC blasted cold, but sweat beaded on my brow. No apology for the lies, just raw plea. And that cut off, I love, who? Ellen? I drove straight to Jack's studio. Tape clutched like a grenade. He was mid-print, chemicals swirling in trays, but dropped everything at my face. We listened together, his hand vice-tight on mine. When ended, silence stretched, then shattered. He never said it, Jack whispered, voice fracturing. Not once. Not even at the end. Aching, unleashed fury. He used you, all those years. The lake house. The promises, and he chokes on 3 words. I paced, knocking over a stool. The clang a gunshot. Jack tried to steady me, but I shoved him back. And you? You let him. Stayed in the shadows. Raised me from afar like some guilty secret. His eyes blazed, hurt turning to heat. I stayed because I loved him, flaws and all. And you? You're not a secret, you're the goddamn revelation. Words escalated. Accusations flying like shrapnel. My resentment a proxy for Dad's silence. His defensiveness a wall against fresh grief. I stormed out, slamming the door on his shout, Christopher. Wait. The drive was reckless, tires screeching through yellows, ending at Calvary under a bruised dusk sky. I collapsed at Dad's stone, fists pounding earth. But why hide us? Sobs racked me, mud-caking knees, until arms encircled, breathless from chasing on foot. Because he was human, he said, rocking me like a child. Cowardly, but all of it. But we don't have to be. We stayed till stars pricked the velvet. Talking through the veil, Dad's fears of disownment. The era's scarlet A for AIDS, Mom's quiet rebellion. Slipping pride pins into my jacket pockets. Forgiveness came in fragments, not absolution, but acceptance. He tried, Jack said. In his way. Like we're trying now. Back at the loft. Reconciliation was fire, urgent, consuming. We made love with desperate edges. Bodies claiming what words couldn't. I'm here. We're real. Afterward, sweat cooling, Jack traced my spine. Marry me? Not for show. For us. The proposal hung. Simple band from his pocket, silver. Engraved light in the dark. I said yes. Tears salting our kiss. The future a canvas half-sketched. But drama's arc demands fallout. News spread ripples. My coming out at school drew whispers. A parent's complaint. Is this appropriate for kids? Escalating to board review. Check 6. Fueled it anonymously. Tips to the local rag. Teacher in scandalous affair with dead man's lover. Headlines screamed family secrets, gay legacy or grooming. Controversy erupted, picket lines at the high school. Op-eds decrying indoctrination. I fought back. Op-ed in the Tribune. My dad's hidden love taught me authenticity over silence. Jack's photos accompanied, artistic, humanizing, two men at a grave, hands linked, a son embracing his truth. Support flooded, alumni letters, queer orgs rallying. The board cleared me, but scars lingered, trust eroded, questions in hallways. Through it, human warmth prevailed. Sarah visited, toasting with cheap champagne, to messy families, the best kind. My students? One gifted me a drawing, 2 figures under a rainbow, captioned coach's story. Jack and I planned the wedding, small, big site. Officiant a drag queen friend. Vows exchanged under October oaks. I choose you. Shadows and all. The end wasn't tidy, no bows on by kitsch. Dad's silence echoed. Mom's resentment a faint ache. But in Jack's arms, watching fireworks over the lake, I found humanism's core, love as verb. Imperfect, defiant. We built a home, not Elm Street's facade, but a loft alive with prints and laughter. Open to strays, foster kids from Sarah's network. Weekends mentoring at the center. One night, tape replayed. I added my voice. Dad, heard you. And Jack, we said it for you. The recording ended not in static, but harmony, a son's redemption, a love unchained. In America's heartland, where secrets once festered, we bloomed. Not perfect, but profoundly ours.